So I'll introduce myself for those who don't know who I am, but I've been given a glowing introduction there by Russell. So my name's Richard. I'm the CEO of the Marketing Optimist. We are, as Lucy quite rightly said, the marketing department you don't have. And I'm going to try and talk to you today about building raving fans. This is a talk I've given before. It can last up to 3 hours if I start rambling. Hopefully it won't. I'm not planning it to go on that long. It's going to be quite a shorter version of it. I was speaking to Fahad before we started, and he kind of said, "Oh, do you want people to kind of chip in or whatever?" I actually do want you to chip in. I might even be asking you questions as we go through, because actually it really freaks me out if I'm just talking to the screen and everyone's just on mute and nobody says anything. It's like talking to the TV, and that's a bit mad. So as I start talking, feel free to chip in, ask questions, whatever. If you don't want to ask it kind of live, stick it into the comments section, which if you go down to the bottom of your screen, anyone who's not used it before, there's a little chat function there, and you can just kind of put a message here and it'll pop up. Message here, see how that's it, like here is what it should say. So yeah, stick a message in there if you don't want to do that, or if you just want to use the thing where there's a little facilities where you can put your hand up as well. Forget where that is, but you can, yeah, there's a reactions thing. If you go onto the bottom of your screen, you can put your hand up and you can do thumbs up like that, or crying with laughter, or that, whatever that is. But yeah, if you've got any questions or you just want to like show a bit of encouragement, feel free, just chip in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, which is my PowerPoint, and I'm just going to move you all around a little bit so I can get to where it works. So reading view, come on. There we go. So first test, can everyone see the screen?
Yeah.
Ace, we're off and running. Okay, so the first thing to emphasize is that my name is Richard Michie, even though it's spelled like Michie. It's not, it's Mickey, like the mouse, but spelled like Michael. I don't know, M-I-C-H. Yeah, anyway, moving on. So today I want to talk about raving fans. So raving fans are traditionally the kind of thing that are the kind of the kind of like set with bands and things. So we talked, Tim mentioned earlier about Hope and Social, and I would put Tim down as a raving fan for Hope and Social, because every time we speak to him, he goes, "Oh, we've got this great track from Hope and Social. I'm going to see Hope and Social. Hope and Social are doing this, Hope and Social are doing that." And he does it kind of unprompted. So Tim is definitely a raving fan, and I'm sure that everyone on this call is a raving fan of something, whether it is a band, whether it is, I don't know, your phone even, and we'll come on to that, or whether it is your favorite thing for tea, and again we'll come on to that. So everyone's a raving fan about something. You probably don't necessarily know what it is, but it's just intrinsically in you. But what I'm going to talk about is how businesses and organizations can create raving fans, and kind of how to do that. Somebody's got a comment. They haven't got a comment. What are they saying? Brewdog. Right, Russell loves Brewdog. I used to be into New Kids on the Block. Well, I'm not sure you should be admitting that, Nat, if I'm honest. Anyone else get anything they're raving fans about before we crack on? Feel free to chip in. We can come back. It's great. Right. Okay. So slides. There we go. So the thing is what are raving fans, and how does that work? First of all, it all comes down to what problem you solve. Now, if that's Brewdog, then that's Russell's looking for, what he wants is a nice kind of homebrewed, I don't know, is it homebrewed the right word? I don't know, but he wants that kind of craft beer feel to it. But Brewdog don't just do the craft beer, they've got a whole ethos around it. So they solve that problem of I want to feel a little bit different. I don't just want to be drinking Carling Black Label or whatever else. I want something that I feel has got something different to it. It's got a different ethos, a different run around on it. So one of the key things is, for a business, for an organization, you need to work out what problem is it that you solve that's different to other people, because that's what's going to make you unique. The thing is, if you try to do everything the same as everybody else, it all feels a bit bland. And if you're bland, you don't stand out, and you've got no chance of making raving fans, because the last thing you want to be is meh. If your business, your organization, your charity, your rugby club, your whatever it is a bit meh, it's all right, but I don't either love it or hate it, then you're not going to get anywhere really. Hate, although this sounds a bit weird, hate can be a great thing, because if people hate what you're doing, that means that others will love what you're doing. So what you don't want to be is in that middle meh section, because that middle meh section is where nothing happens. If you've got that, I mean, Marmite famously did this, when they kind of, you're either Marmite lover or you're a Marmite hater. There's no kind of middle bit. It's very polarizing, and that's what you want to be, because the main thing is you don't want to be the perfect company, the perfect organization for everybody. Effectively, that's not possible. Even Coca-Cola, who are massive and intrinsically everywhere, some people still like Pepsi. So what the first step is to work out, why do customers love you? So if you've got customers, and when I say customers on this, it's because it was the old presentation, but if we're talking about a charity, why do your donors love you? Why do your advocates love what you do? That's really key. And once you can work out what that is, then you can start accentuating on that, and you can build on the reason why they love what you do, because that's this kind of the secret sauce to growing a business and organization, getting more people to share your messages, and to get into the raving fans. So this is your starting point. The starting point is definitely, why do people love what we do? And that can take a bit of navel gazing, and it's something the British aren't very good at. We're very kind of, well, we don't really know what we're good at. But if you look back at what you do, and you look back at the things you've achieved, the things that have worked, the things importantly that have failed, and try to pinpoint, well, what have been the good points, and let's work on what the good points are. And if you're new to business, again, you need to just start making points. So you need to start somewhere. I'm a raving fan about Simon on the Streets. There we go. I am too. That's great. Well done, Samantha. It is that thing. And so as I said, if you're a new business and you don't have a kind of starting point, you don't know why your company, why people might love what you do, you need to start with why you love what you do, and then go out and get that message out there and start building on why people love what you're doing, and you'll learn and you'll tweak and you'll move through that. I'm a really big fan of Apple phones. I don't have an Apple laptop, but I would kill anyone who tried to take my Apple phone from my hands. I don't really know why. It's a phone. It has the same apps as other phones that are available. It makes phone calls. It has apps. It has all my information on. It's got a good camera on, but then so other loads and loads of other phones. But for Apple phones, when the new one comes out, pre-COVID, obviously, there would be queues around the block for people waiting to get their hands on their first Apple phone. That doesn't happen for a Samsung or a Nokia. So there's something intrinsic that Apple have done about being able to get their people to be absolutely raving fans, where they have to have the first phone, which in effect is not that much of an upgrade from the last phone. It's only marginal differences, but still, people will camp out overnight to get the new phone. And that's one of the keys. That's why Apple is the biggest phone brand in the world, even though there are a raft of other phones that do exactly the same thing, and probably for a better price, maybe even for better quality. I know some phones have better cameras than Apple do, but there's still, those businesses don't have raving fans about their phones. This is the trainer that I wear, not this particular one. But whenever I buy trainers, I always buy Adidas Superstars. I'd never buy any other type of trainer. I just like the way it looks. I like the plastic kind of the front part to the toe. And so when my kids are looking for trainers, I go, well, you just buy yourself some Superstars because they're the best trainer. Regardless, they last for ages. I like them. And I don't know what it is, but maybe I bought them since I was at school, and it's just something I've grown with. And so I only ever buy them. So I'm a massive fan of Superstars. These are just what I have to have on my feet. If I've got these on my feet, I feel confident, and I feel good. They just work for me. This is a G-Tech Air Ram, and this is quite a good example of how you can be a raving fan about something. Before we got all of a G-Tech Air Ram, we had Dysons, which were very good hoovers, but we'd seen the advert and we'd seen the man like jumping over and talking directly jumping over settees and talking directly at you. He even had his dog in one. They did another one where they had dancing girls, but they went back to the guy again, and he basically sold it to us. We were like, that looks really good. It looks, design wise, it appeals to me. Hand wise, it's great because it's kind of revolutionary because it's got a battery in it. You don't plug it in, and it's a great Hoover. So now when people say, oh, I need a new Hoover, we go, well, you need to get a G-Tech Air Ram. So consequently, my mother-in-law's got one and my mum's got one, and anyone else who ever says, oh, I'm thinking of getting a new Hoover, we say, well, you need to buy a G-Tech Air Ram. Last Christmas we had a tree that lost loads of needles, and people said, oh, are you going to clear up all those needles? And I just say, it's fine, we've got G-Tech Air Ram, it'll eat them for breakfast. And I'm not paid by G-Tech Air Ram. We don't do marketing for G-Tech Air Ram, but they're just a great product, and I got really passionate about it. So anytime anyone wants to, anyone asks a question about a Hoover, you can't call them Hoovers, they're supposed to be called vacuum cleaners. And bizarrely, strange fact for you, in New Zealand, they don't Hoover the carpet, they Lux it. The reason for that is that for some reason, New Zealand, Electrolux's carpet cleaners got into that country first. So that if you mention a Hoover in New Zealand, what do you mean Luxing? Because they got there first. That's another story. I thought I'd throw that in. Right. So I'm from Sheffield, and it is kind of illegal in Sheffield to eat a pie or a stew or any kind of warm meal without Henderson's relish on it. Just a quick show of hands. Everybody tried Henderson's relish? Charlotte? I can't really see everybody else, but
my husband's from Sheffield.
All right. Well, it's you. Well, so you know full well that it's illegal.
And to digress, we once went with my in-laws to Barcelona. My father-in-law asked in broad Sheffield accent the waiter if he could have some Henderson's relish, and when he said no, and it obviously he was confused, my father-in-law said, "But it's world famous."
Well, he's right. He's right. So anyone who's not tried Henderson's relish, first of all, it is not Worcester sauce. I just want to put that out there. It is not Worcester sauce. Anyone tells you it's Worcester sauce gets to leave the house. My stepdaughter had to make a shepherd's pie at school and needed Worcester sauce, and I refused to have it in the house. So she took Henderson's relish instead. So Henderson's relish is it's vegan, it's vegetarian. It's been made in Sheffield for over 100 years, so like a secret recipe. The place where it's made, they don't make it there anymore, but it's like a little kind of shack almost thing in the middle of Sheffield that's almost protected. When they made it there, you could walk up and you could smell it. So you could smell the relish wafting out of the building. But the key thing was you never saw anyone enter or leave the Henderson's relish factory. It was very much like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where nobody comes in or comes out. Just the stuff just appears on the shelf. And it is kind of folklore in Sheffield. Every single house will have a bottle of Henderson's relish in the house at all times. It's kind of illegal not to have it. It is, and it's, as you can tell, it's something that people get really passionate about. I put it on everything. In fact, we did an event for a client in Sheffield, and we launched their new co-working space. And we said, what you need to do is get loads of miniature bottles of Henderson's relish with a little tag on it. And everyone who came to the event went, oh, God, you've got Henderson's. And everyone just just something that brought everyone together. If you're ever doing an event in Sheffield, it's intrinsic that you include Henderson's relish. It's just part of it. It's like runs in your blood. So we've got some comments. I'll come back to the comments in a second. It's not Worcester sauce. No. It doesn't it tastes nothing like Worcester sauce. I'll send you a bottle and you'll find out. But what happens when they make raving fans is this is fan art. This and Lucy might recognize this. This is on the wall in my kitchen. So I've got this art. This is not made by Henderson's, or it's not even endorsed by Henderson's, but it's fan art of Henderson's relish because people just love it so much. If anyone's a fan of Sean Bean, who's famously from Sheffield, he has Endo's tattooed on him, and he has it imported when he's off filming, I don't know, wherever he is in exotic places. He has it shipped over so that he can have it with his food. this is what happens when you get kind of the extreme of raving fans, is that people start getting really excited about it. So they send, like, they have it. I've had it at people's weddings before, where you get the little bottles on your table as a wedding favor. And then when you're really hitting peak raving fan, people start to have tattoos, which is a bit extreme. But this is kind of shows the extent of how much people can kind of really latch on to the idea of a sauce, because all it is a condiment. It's an amazing condiment by all means, but people get so excited about it that they'll create fan art. They'll make songs about it. There is a famous song about Henderson's relish, if you want to look it up, by the Everly Pregnant Brothers, who are a Sheffield kind of thing. But they do a song about Henderson's relish, which is a bit sweary actually, so you might have to make sure the kid's not in the room. It's a bit sweary, but it's worth looking up. But this is what happens when you get to that, when you've elevated to that point where you've got raving fans. People start to comment on it on Instagram and Facebook, and it becomes a cult. And then people go to the extremes of having things like tattoos. So what do all those brands have in common? Well, the main thing that they all have in common is that they do something very different every time, and they stick to their niche. So for Henderson's relish, for a time, and the reason it kind of built, and the reason people in Sheffield are so passionate about it is because you couldn't get it outside of Sheffield for a very, very long time. You couldn't even get it in Rotherham, which is like right next door to Sheffield. And the people of Sheffield love the fact that people of Rotherham couldn't get it. It's now spread out a little bit, and so you can get it in Morrison's every now and again, I think. But effectively, it's still a thing that is owned by the people of Sheffield in their minds and in their hearts, and on their tattoos as well. Apple do a very similar kind of thing. So they're very keen on building up what they're very, very progressive with their brand. They talk to their fans, they listen to their fans, they care about what they do, and they ensure that they're solving their very particular problem. And it gives them a focus. So they focus on what those issues are. They don't try to, I don't know, Henderson's relish don't suddenly branch off into making souffles or something. If they have any tie-ups, it'll be with things that it goes with. So they'll focus on, I don't know, a pie maker or something along those lines, or crisps. It's great on crisps, by the way. So they'll stick to that focus. They don't drift off, and they stick to that focus for a long, long time. As I said, Henderson's relishes have been around for over 100 years. And again, they care and nurture for their customers. Again, going back to Henderson's relish, when years and years ago, when Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday got into the FA Cup semi-final, never happened again. They made two brands. They made a red and white bottle and a blue and white bottle. And again, either side of the city wouldn't buy the other colours bottle, but they did it on purpose, and it was a key thing that spoke to the people of Sheffield to celebrate what was happening. And they say thank you. They appreciate their people. So Apple did it. Apple do it quite a lot, but they did get it wrong one year when they dropped on U2's single on everyone's phone for no particular reason. And I think that was the time when people were like, no, thank you. I don't want Apple's. I don't want U2's new album. Thank you very much. And so they got it wrong, but they learn from that kind of thing. They get customers to market for them, as we saw in Henderson's relish. That's what happens. People just talk and they expand about it. The same with Adidas trainers. Word of mouth is a massive thing. It's a massive, massive thing. Again, the word of mouth that I use for that I employ for Simon on the Streets means that a lot of you guys are here, because I talk about the great work that they do, and that's brought you in. And there are lots of other advocates that will come and say, well, when we're supporting a charity, who do we support? And people will say straight away, Simon on the Streets. It's the first thing that comes out of my mouth. If somebody says we're going to give to charity, what should we do? And I just go Simon on the Streets. It's an obvious one. Obviously, there are lots more other charities. They focus on what they do best. As I said, they don't diversify massively. Although Apple have kind of diversified into certain things, but they did at one point. They amalgamated sort of loads of things. When Steve Jobs joined Apple years and years ago, the second time after being fired, he came back and got rid of half of their stock. So he just went, no, we're not doing all these different levels of computers. We'll zone it down into maybe 2 or 3, and they've kind of stuck to that over time, over a longer period now. This is one of our clients. So this is Charlie from Hillside Fisheries. And what Charlie does, he sells fish and chips. It's dead straightforward. but what he does is he does it authentically. So it's a Yorkshire fish and chip shop. He still fries his fish and chips in beef dripping, so they're authentic. He gives really nice, generous portions. If there's ever anything wrong, he'll correct it. He gets involved in all the community. We've done things like this. So we've done win a free fish and chips for a year. Only one person won it, and actually the beauty of it is that even if you really love fish and chips, you can't eat them every week for a year because you'll soon get sick of the sight of them. So actually, it got him some great publicity, but without having to give away loads and loads of fish and chips. What he does is he engages in his community, and we've got loads and loads of raving fans. Hillside Fisheries, where Charlie's Chippy is not the only chip shop in Ackworth, which is in Pontefract, but we've made it so that it's the one that people talk about. It's the one that people go, oh, you need to go to Charlie's, it's amazing. And this is what happens. We get, like, you can see that's the size of his shop, and this is the kind of cues that he gets. Obviously, this is before social distancing, but when social distancing is around, he still gets these kind of cues up and down, obviously spread out a lot more. But he does that because he cares about what people he does. So this is kind of proof that you don't need to be Nike, you don't need to be Adidas, you don't need to be Apple. You don't need to have deep pockets for lots of advertising. What you need to do is kind of hone your message and make sure that you do things that engender people talking about you and being really passionate about what you do to make it special. So just to recap, the beginning is, who are your customers? What problem do you solve? Why should they care? Insert your own word there. And then from that, you'll work out why customers love you. Why do customers love you? Focus on your core customer needs, care and nurture the customers, reward your fans by giving them exclusives or extra information, or just a kind of a thank you and a thumbs up goes a long way, and get them to market for you. So give them a message that they can go out and they can share and spread that message for you. And that's it. There you go. So that's my raving fans talk. I'm going to stop sharing now. Stop share. So there you go. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, anything I've not picked up?
I've got a question, Richard. It's all right.
Yeah.
It was just trying to think around what the balance is around. So marketeers can also do their stuff to influence people to become fans.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you put a product out there and we go, oh, we love it, so we'll become fans. So there's a balance to strike around. Sometimes we are told we need to be fans, or we're well marketed to around that. So it's like, what's the right balance to strike around that?
That's tricky, because if you're something new and you're unknown, then you need to effectively get it's raising awareness. So there's an awareness. Look, we've got a new bottle of beer, whatever it is, and then you need to kind of get people. You need to convince people to try it, if that's what it is. So whether it's a sampling your service, sampling your food, your whatever it is, and then making sure that when they sample it, they get the best possible service you could possibly give them, and then get them to something really easy where they can share it. So something like, because what you want is, unfortunately, it's like a virus. I know this is a really bad analogy, but if you can get the R rate up of your business, then one person tells another, and they tell another, and they tell another, and they tell another, and then that's how it builds. And it is kind of one person at a time, especially when you're a brand new brand. It's getting that one person. So when you've done, obviously you do training courses and sessions and everything. It's then going back and going, I'm so pleased that you really enjoyed that. Is there anyone else you could tell about how good what the result was? And maybe that's, you have to give them some sort of the obvious one is to give a customer a discount for a next one. Okay, well, thank you for buying what you just bought. Here's a 10% discount for you, and maybe a 10% discount for a friend. Pass that on, and then it kind of starts building on that. So there are tactics and things, but I think it's about doing that one-on-one and going, I'm so pleased that you enjoyed whatever we did. Is there anything we can do to kind of encourage you to tell other people? And that does come down to some marketing, some clever marketing, but clever marketing alone can't do that. We can spend loads of time and loads of effort on marketing, but if your product is awful,
Yeah.
it's not going to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is kind of key from, you look like like for Apple. So yeah, they could spend millions and millions on advertising and whatever else, but if their phone was awful, people would just go, well, your advertising is great, but your phone's awful, and so I'm not going to recommend that anyone ever uses your phone. The same with Charlie's Chippy. We could do all the work we wanted, but if all his chips weren't crispy
Soggy.
and were soggy and cold and whatever else and undercooked and everything else, it would all fall down.
Yeah, thank you.
That's exactly what we did as well. So we're a fairly new brand as well. So what we did was we used actually social media platforms. So like, the likes of Instagram and Facebook. And then we actually did send samples out to various, shall we say, whiskey experts, who love their whiskey. And then we actually sent them like 5cl bottles, and we got them to share our stories as well. And most people were willing to like share it with their friends and family, whatnot. So I definitely think like social media does play a big part in like spreading the word and what you do as well.
Yeah, but as you said, it's that genuine thing. So if your key whiskey drinker had got the whiskey and drunk it and gone, that's horrible, then it's not going to go anywhere, is it? You're just going to get lots of people really negative about it. So again, it does come down to the quality of what you've done has to match up with the kind of the hype. You can't just, I don't know, you can't just sell something that's duff, and people won't pass on the something that's duff. In fact, then you kind of get the negative from that at that point, because then actually people who are disappointed actually tell more people than those people who are pleased. So and that's why customer service is so key, because you want people to go, wow, that customer service is amazing. And actually it can help a lot better. It can be accelerated really well if you've helped them out of a problem. So if they came to you and your whiskey was late, for example, and you went, oh, I'm so sorry it's late, here's an extra big bottle and I'll drive it to you, or something like that, then they're really going to talk about you, because they're really going to go, well, do you know what, something went wrong. They understood what the problem was, they empathized, and they fixed it kind of double size. And then people are going to go, wow, that's amazing. And then people will really talk about the amazing service. If something went kind of to plan, then that actually to a degree falls in the meh area, because it's, well, I expected it to arrive on time, and it did. And so you met my expectations, great. If you can exceed their expectations, that's even better.
Have you ever had to tell somebody that the reason their marketing isn't working is because their product isn't up to standard? Genuinely don't know the answer to this, because it just occurred to me of like, actually, because sometimes you do look at what people are doing and you think, I can't market you out of that one.
Yeah. I mean, we had one recently. It was a local takeaway, effectively, who we worked for. And we did loads of work building up their social media. So we did loads of Instagram work, Facebook work in the local area. We got them a really good following. And then the bit we couldn't help with was that when the food arrived, it was like cold, it was late, it was mashed up in the packaging. And so people just went, just backlashed at it. I had my last employment before I started the agency was in renewable energy, and they were really bad. So we were really good at marketing it and getting people to have solar panels and biomass boilers and stuff. But then when it was delivered, they were awful. And so people really kicked off about it. Luckily, I don't work there anymore. And I did my job, and you expect other people to do their job. But it is a holistic thing. Making Raving fans might start with the marketing department, but it doesn't end with the marketing department. It's the whole business. If everyone's not on board, then it won't work.
Yeah, there's a quote from Maya Angelou that sums it up, Richard, which is, people will forget what you did, people will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Richard, go on, sorry, Karen.
I was just going to ask, have you ever had any kind of ethical issues with regards to maybe having to decline a client, or felt compromised because it was a service that you just didn't approve of, or a company whose business was something that you felt compromised with in some way?
Not so far. Not so far. I think there are certain things that we wouldn't touch as an agency. So we probably wouldn't work with anything to relate with tobacco or like fuel or anything like that. Unethical things that kind of, but it's not happened so far. I guess if it did happen, I don't know, how I am is I wouldn't kind of go, no, that's awful and damn it. I would kind of go, well, I don't think this opportunity is for us, but if you'd like to speak to other people, we can put you in touch with other people who might be interested in it. But no, it's not arisen as yet. That's a very good question.
Well, it just similarly, I suppose the other side to that is can you legitimately promote the other side of being kind of being able to promote sustainability or eco-friendly practices or things that are promoting a positive message as well as an organisation?
Sorry, I don't quite understand what you mean.
So not just on behalf of your clients, but as a business yourself, can you kind of highlight areas that as an organisation you promote that are particularly either ethical or that promote sustainability or that are sending a positive message in that way?
Yeah, I think that can be key, because if you've got to remember that your business is is part of the whole ecosystem. So sustainability does matter to all your businesses or your organizations, whatever you are doing. I think if you are going to go down that avenue, you need to make sure it's relevant. So if we just suddenly started talking about climate change as the marketing optimist, it doesn't really tie in. What we can talk about is the fact that we're all working remotely now, so that we're doing less commuting. We're doing more video meetings like this. So we're doing less kind of travel to things. From an ecology point of view, that's probably about all we've got, because we don't have a big office, we don't have machines, we don't kind of use resources per se, other than electricity. So we could cut down on that, I guess, but that would make our work kind of difficult. But we can cut down on travel, and we can be more sustainable in general. We don't print anything, for example. So from that point of view, we kind of stick to what we can talk about, but we don't kind of go off and start talking about carbon capture or anything like that, because that's gone without our expertise. We can't really comment on that. But if you can, then definitely do.
It made me think, Richard, when you were talking at the beginning about why do customers love you, and of course as a charity it's no different really in terms of the business world, the charity world. We still want customers, clients, whatever you want to call them. It's slightly different language, but I think there is something about, we're very aware as a charity that there's some phenomenal charities out there all doing phenomenal work, and we always feel very fortunate that people choose us as opposed to other different charities, because there's so many, particularly across sort of the West Yorkshire area. So it's just made me think about maybe how we capture some of that feedback from the people who work with us as well. What do they think makes us different? Why do people choose us over some of these other great charities, and what is it we're doing to help us keep doing whatever that is, or even just to get some honest feedback about, is there something more that we could be doing as well?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because I don't know all the homeless charities in Leeds, but there are at least 4, aren't there, that I can think of. But they're all different. So you're all ploughing slightly different furrows. You've all got slightly different angles, and that's good, because otherwise you would all be competing against each other, and that's the kind of last thing you want. You want you all to support each other in that kind of way.
I don't know if this helps, but I heard you speak on another thing that Richard organised, and that's the first time I'd heard you. But what I got from Simon on the Streets is that it was really clear that you spoke about homeless people as your clients. So that really resonated with me. That meant, oh, there's something there. And it was also that additional bit around, it was their individual needs. So it wasn't just we're getting people off the streets. It was a case of, this is a complex problem, and it's about the individual human being and what we can do for each individual. So that's what I really got from hearing you speak about it for the first time. And that was like, yep, that's something that resonates with me. So I have no idea if that helps.
That's really helpful. No, and that's really good to hear, because it's things like, it is that, what were those key bits that actually jumped out at you that made us different from somebody else? No, that's really good to hear. Thank you for that.
did. Somebody else had a question and then they cut themselves short. Who was that? Was it Leo? I think Leo, you had a question.
All right. Yes, I'm still baffled by this Henderson's relish stuff. So what's so good about it? I lived in Sheffield for a couple of years.
Right.
And people did bang on about it, but it seems to be just Worcestershire sauce.
No, it's not Worcestershire sauce.
But, you know,
Worcestershire sauce has got anchovies in it, so that's the essential difference. It doesn't have the anchovies.
It's completely vegan and vegetarian.
But if you kind of look at it from the perspective of a marketer, you know, someone who would, could you like make it a worldwide brand if it's so good, or is it just that it's just got to stay as a Sheffield type of thing? But
I don't know,
if it is so good, it could take over the world, couldn't it?
Well, yeah, I think the thing is, it's again, this is about understanding your fans and understanding what their limits of it is, and so you can see. Back in my youth, I used to go to, when I lived in Sheffield, I used to go to Leadmill in Sheffield and see lots of little indie bands. And I always loved the little indie bands until they got too big. And I was just like, oh, yeah, they're not as good as they were years ago when I saw them with me and a whippet in Sheffield. And I think Henderson's Relish is probably a little bit like that. It's almost like a little Sheffield secret, and they like to keep it that way. But actually, that's enough for what Henderson's, that's almost like the peak of Henderson's Relish ambitions, if you like. I don't know this because I'm not involved in their marketing at all, although I would like to be. Yeah, go on.
About 25 years ago, I was involved in the company that bought Henderson's Relish and was doing advertising for them. They were called Yorkshire Foods, launching some other brands.
Mm-hmm.
They were just these two wide boy businessmen who just stomped over any values or IP. And going back to Sam's point, I had real issues about their integrity and working for them. It was just they'll have moved on and be somewhere else now.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do get these niches, and then I think it's something like Drambuie. Have you heard of that? It's like a funny liqueur drink type thing. Yeah. And apparently, it's like 80% of its sales are in Preston and around there.
Right.
Because during the either the First or Second World War, some battalion were based out in Malta.
I do remember this.
You had to put it in some beer or something, like some weird thing. And you look at where it is now, it's like, whoa. It's not dissimilar, but you can get those things that happen.
Yeah, I think Henderson's Relish is kind of an anomaly in that its universe is Sheffield and a little bit sneaking out. And I think they're happy with that. And they play on that. So yes, they could make it worldwide if they kind of got it out on places. But I think they're kind of happy with what it is, but again, that's knowing their fans. I think if it did start to dilute, then the people of Sheffield wouldn't take it quite to their heart, and it would probably take a long, long time because it's part of the culture in Sheffield. It really is part of the culture, and I think if it got bigger over time, I think that would start to leak, and I think over time it would see the demise of Henderson's Relish.
Richard, I don't know if you're familiar with I worked in Hull for quite a few years a while ago, and they've got something called chip spice. So that funny orangey spice that sometimes takeaways put on. So Hull own that apparently, and they're very passionate about it's our thing. It's Hull. It's very similar to what you were talking about, and I'd never even heard of it. I'd seen it on stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I've seen that. And these, no, you can't have done it. It's a Hull thing. And then when I left Hull, they actually bought me this Hull's chip spice, and it is, and it is and there is something about that. And what you were saying about growing, about that community, local kind of everybody buying into it's ours, it's kind of our thing, which makes that when it gets bigger, it probably would lose it somehow. Yeah. But yeah, it's this, yeah, very similar to the relish.
I guess it's a thing that, so if Simon on the Streets, which is very much based in Leeds and Bradford and Kirklees, if you had to go, you know what, we're going to take this countrywide, it suddenly starts to go, well, but we've got all our own distinctive elements. Why? I think you'd lose it. So actually being part of the community, and just because that we're talking about a geographical community, that doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't apply to a kind of a mindset community as well. So like fans of bands, fans of football clubs, fans of technology. That's kind of a mindset community, just in the same way.
There's a great book called A Company of One which if anybody hasn't read it, I'd strongly recommend it. It's very much about building that type of company, being within the niche, and talks a lot about the dangers of getting too big.
Yeah, I've written that down. I will look that one up, Nigel.
There's got to be a balance to be had, though. I suppose to a certain extent, I am playing devil's advocate here, Richard, because I do agree very much with what you're saying. However, I mean, with regards to Henderson's, yes, it's a Sheffield thing, but it is increasing its market share. It's now available on the shelves of Sainsbury's in most areas around the Yorkshire region and probably further afield. And then if you look similarly at other brands who have created huge market share and have achieved massive success, Yorkshire Tea, for example. I mean, the Betty's brand, Cornish pasties.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm of Caribbean origin. My parents, my heritage is from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, and we have a local thing which is on every shelf of every upmarket bar around the world called Angostura Bitters, and still with that family secret that has been retained.
Yeah.
But from a marketing / branding point of view, there's a lot of scope for retaining a niche in inverted commas, but on a global platform, surely.
Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree. I think it probably says a lot for Henderson's the fact that they haven't done it, because I have seen cooking programs where celebrity chefs will go, I've got this, and the odd one will kind of go, this is amazing stuff. But they don't do that kind of push that would be the kind of obvious thing to do. As a marketer now, I'd kind of go, okay, we need to get your sauce out to all the stores. I need to get your thing out to all the stores, all the celebrity chefs. I need I don't know, everyone on Ready Steady Cook, which probably doesn't exist anymore, talking about it and using it, and that way will go global. But they don't do that, and they could do that. So yeah, I can't talk for Henderson's Relish because we don't represent them at all, although I would love to.
You can, I think. Sorry, I was going to say you can if you're clever with the branding. You can still make people feel like they're part of a club, but have millions and millions of people at part of that club. Because when I worked at First Direct, that was one of the things that the branding guys did. I mean, Peter Simpson as head of marketing director. The idea was that if you saw somebody using the little black First Direct debit card, you were like, oh, look, they're part of the group. They're part of what we're part of that team. And you still feel like that. I mean, that's God knows how many years ago. And I know things have changed. It's turned to HSBC and all, those sorts of things. But for the first 20 years or so, it was very much, if you were part of the First Direct club, and you've got 1 million customers by then, and it was still that kind of it was a niche, but it was a big niche.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I agree. That's exactly the point I think that you were making, that you can be part of the best kept secret that actually it's a secret that everybody's in on.
Yeah, but but you maintain a level of pride about it, like you say about the Angostura Bitters. I mean, I remember that growing up. That was like the addition to lots of cocktails that my parents used to have and that kind of thing. And I'm sure a bottle lasted about 40 years, didn't it? Because you only have used 2 drops. But it is that thing of the people who started it still feel that level of ownership and that level of buying of its hours, but we're kind of letting the other people use it because we're nice like that. So I mean, that's the kind of thing that those sorts of sort of fans can allow to happen and allow the brand to grow.
Yeah, lovely. Okay, so I think we're cracking on to the 2 o'clock mark. So Fahad, do you want to wrap it all up?
Yeah, thank you, Richard, and thank you everyone for your contributions. When we invited Richard on to speak, I didn't think we were talking about Henderson's Relish. I won't lie.
Did you expect the Henderson's Relish?
No, didn't. But it's been brilliant. It's been really, really interesting. It's given me a lot of stuff to think about as well. Obviously, this is not necessarily my day job, but it's part and parcel of what I do as well, in talking about Simon on the streets and going out and thinking about how I do that as well. So it's been really great hearing you and everyone else contribute to that as well. So thank you, everyone. So this was our last 5 for 5 networking event of 2020. Just want to thank you all. Quite a few of you have actually have been to them month on month for the last few months. So you've really supported us and helped us transition 5 for 5 and change it to a virtual world. And it's grown. It's great to see new people join the networking events and come along, as well as joining the 5 for 5 partnership. And we hope and continue and you know, we will continue to grow that through 2021.